భారత జాతిని ఒక్కటి చేసే ఘననాదం, స్వతంత్ర భారతానికి సమర్పించే అభివందనం, కోట్లాది జనగళం, ఎన్నటికీ తరగని మన వైభవం, సర్వసత్తాక భారతంలో నిత్యం ప్రతిధ్వనించే విజయగానం, భారత జాతీయ గీతం. భారతీయులంతా గర్వంగా ఉప్పొంగే సందర్భం జాతీయ గీతాలాపన. స్వతంత్ర భారత వజ్రోత్సవ వేడుకల సందర్భంగా ఈ నెల 16వ తేదీన ఉదయం 11:30 గంటలకు తెలంగాణ రాష్ట్ర సామూహిక జాతీయ గీతాలాపనను మన ప్రభుత్వం నిర్వహిస్తోంది.
సామూహిక గీతాలాపనలో ఎక్కడున్న ట్రాఫిక్ అక్కడనే నిలిపేసి, మనం కూడా కారులో కూర్చున్నా సరే దిగి నిల్చొని ఇక్కడ ఉన్న వాళ్ళం అక్కడనే ఒక 58 సెకండ్ల పాటు ఆలపించేటువంటి ఆ జాతీయ గీతాన్ని రాష్ట్రం మొత్తం అద్భుతంగా నిలబడి ఆలపించే పరిస్థితిలో మీరందరూ బాధ్యులు కావాలి, భాగస్వాములు కావాలని నేను కోరుతా ఉన్నా.
తెలంగాణ జాతి ఐక్యతను చూపిద్దాం, మన భారతీయతను గర్వంగా చాటుదాం.
The beginning of the 20th century witnessed the birth of defiant nationalism in India. Yet, as Jawaharlal Nehru said, politics were at a low ebb, chiefly because of split in Congress between two sections, the so-called extremists and the moderates. Bombay, 9th of January 1915. After 2 decades in South Africa, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi returned home to the soil and sand of India. Jawaharlal Nehru said, his coming was like a beam of light that pierced the darkness. At Pune, Gokhale wanted Gandhiji to join the servants of India society, but other members did not agree. Gopal Krishna Gokhale advised him to do nothing for 1 year, but travel round India and gain experience. When Gandhiji was visiting Shanti Niketan, Gopal Krishna Gokhale passed away in Pune. It was a shock for Gandhiji. He travelled to different parts of the country to know the people and understand their problems. Wherever he went, Gandhiji received a tremendous welcome. During his visit to Kathiawar, he used a Kashmiri cap, perhaps a forerunner of the Gandhi cap. His journeys took him to his hometown Porbandar and several cities. Wherever he came face to face with casteism, Gandhiji was highly critical of the practice of untouchability. He said that Swadeshi should mean self-reliance in every sphere of life, including language. He said, if you raised English language at the cost of vernacular, then you are not favoring Swadeshi in the right sense of the term. In May 1915, Gandhiji established the Satyagraha Ashram at Kochrab near Ahmedabad to serve the country by observing the principles of truth, ahimsa, Swadeshi and fearlessness. Untouchables were admitted into the fold. Gandhiji introduced weaving as a part of his program of self-reliance. The ashram received financial help from Ambalal Sarabhai, a mill owner. The 1915 Congress met at Bombay under the presidency of Sir S.P. Sinha. Gandhiji was nominated to the Subjects Committee. Surendranath Banerjee moved a resolution that time had come to introduce full measure of reforms for self-government. The Muslim League session was also held at Bombay at the same time. Many Congress leaders, Madan Mohan Malviya, Dinshaw Wacha, Annie Besant, Sarojini Naidu, Horniman and Gandhiji attended the League session to present a united front. Muhammad Ali Jinnah moved a resolution to set up a committee in consultation with the Congress for preparing a draft plan to bring about political reforms in the country. Around this time, Abul Kalam Azad was speaking to the Muslims of India in a new language through his Urdu weekly Al-Hilal. He attacked conservatism and anti-nationalism. Azad exhorted the people, "Wake up, for you have slept too long." He declared that if Indian Muslims ignored their duty and were left behind in the fight for independence, they would never be forgiven. When Al-Hilal was banned in 1915, he started Al-Bala with the same content and tenor. Azad was externed from Bengal. Hundreds of Indians residing in the United States offered their services to the Ghadar party to come to India and organize a revolt by the Indian troops of the British Army. Their leaders were arrested at various cantonments. Pingle, Kartar Singh and 5 others were sentenced to death. 18-year-old Kartar Singh Saraba said, "If I had more lives than one, it would have been a great honor for me to sacrifice each one of them for my country." In February 1916, Madan Mohan Malviya invited Gandhiji to be a speaker at the foundation stone laying ceremony of the Banaras Hindu University by Viceroy Lord Hardinge. It was a glittering assembly of Indian princes, titled gentry and wealthy businessmen. On the 6th of February, with Maharaja of Darbhanga in the chair, Gandhiji said, "There would be no salvation for India unless the bejeweled noblemen stripped themselves of their jewels and held them in trust for the people of India." He added, "There could not be much spirit of self-government if the poor, hard-working farmers, who constituted over 75% of the population, were deprived of the fruits of their labor." Titled gentry interrupted the proceedings by walking out en bloc. In 1916, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant started the Home Rule League. The movement found strong supporters in G.S. Arundel, G. Subramania Iyer, Srinivas Sastry, Kasturi Ranga Iyengar, Jawaharlal Nehru. Home Rule became the political slogan of India. Tilak toured extensively with the message, "Be prepared to say that you are a home ruler. Say that you must have it, and I dare say you will get it." When Tilak was to be prosecuted for seditious speeches, Jinnah appeared for the defense. The High Court dismissed the case. The 1916 session of the Congress was held in Lucknow with Ambika Charan Mazumdar as the president. The extremists led by Tilak and Bipin Pal returned to the Congress fold. Jawaharlal Nehru wrote, "The Lucknow Congress of 1916 marks the revival of the National Congress. From that time onwards, it grew in strength and importance, and for the first time in its history, it is taken to be really a national organization." Muslim League also held its session at the same venue. The Congress and the League reached an agreement on various issues. The Congress resolution said Britain should grant the reforms formulated by AICC and adopted by All India Muslim League, that India should have the same status as other self-governing dominions in the empire. Tilak gave his memorable call, "Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it." The British government had permitted the practice of indentured labor, that is, Indian workers taken on contract to other British colonies to work under inhuman conditions. The people of India protested against the system. Gandhiji endorsed the demand for its abolition. Protest meetings were held all over the country. The Viceroy stopped the system of indentured labor for the duration of war, and it was finally abolished in 1920. In Champaran district of Bihar, indigo was cultivated for the manufacture of dyes for the textile mills in England. Essential for their economic survival, it also became a source of enormous profit for the planters. The tenants were required to plant indigo on 3 katthas out of every 20 katthas, or 3/20th part of their land. This was called Tin Kathiya system. The poor peasants were made to pay for the luxurious lifestyle of the British rulers in India. Rajkumar Shukla, a farmer from Champaran, met Gandhiji at the Lucknow session and requested him to help them. After several meetings, Gandhiji agreed to visit Champaran. When Gandhiji reached Muzaffarpur on April 10, 1917, he was received by Acharya J.B. Kripalani, a professor in the Arts College. Gandhiji met the secretary of the Planters Association and explained to him the purpose of his mission in Champaran. The secretary told him that he had no business to come between the planters and their tenants. Gandhiji politely informed him, "I do not regard myself as an outsider, and I have every right to inquire into the conditions of the tenants if they desire me to do so." The commissioner of Tirhut division tried to bully Gandhiji and asked him to quit Champaran forthwith. Gandhiji ignored his threat. On hearing about Gandhiji's arrival, a large number of farmers from Champaran came to meet him.
हम लोगों की अच्छी से अच्छी जमीन को ये लेकर नील की खेती करने के लिए लाचार करते हैं। अगर कोई किसान खेती करने में चूक जाता है तो उसको बड़ा भारी जुर्माना देना पड़ता है। नील की खेती हम करते हैं, लेकिन इसका अधिक से अधिक मुनाफा ये लोग उठाते हैं।
By this time, 2 prominent lawyers of Bihar, Babu Rajendra Prasad and Braj Kishore Prasad, also offered their services. Gandhiji reached Motihari on 15th of April and went to the house of Gorakh Prasad. Next morning, when Gandhiji was visiting some villages, at a deserted hamlet, he was told that all the inhabitants had gone to work in the factory.
यहाँ फैक्ट्री के मैनेजर का राज चलता है, कलेक्टर का यहाँ कुछ नहीं चलता है।
A notice from the district magistrate Champaran was served asking Gandhiji to leave the district by the next available train. He wrote back that he did not propose to leave Champaran till the inquiry was finished. That night, Gandhiji did not sleep. He sent telegraphic information to Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya, Nazrul Haq and others, and gave detailed instructions to Braj Kishore Prasad to carry on the work in the event of his being arrested. He wrote a letter to the Viceroy Lord Chelmsford returning the Kaiser-e-Hind medal which had been awarded to him for the services rendered during the war. On 17th of April, Gandhiji's party recorded statements of farmers till late in the evening.
कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि पैदावार बिल्कुल ही नहीं होता, तब पेशगी की रुपया लौटाने में हम लोग को बड़ा कष्ट होता है। अब आप ही बताइए कि हम क्या करें। मेरे अच्छे जमीन में फसल लगी हुई थी, नीला साहब का हुक्म हुआ कि इसी खेत में नील की खेती होगी और हमारा अपना फसल बर्बाद करा के हमसे नील की खेती कराई गई। बराबर ही यमन साहब के आदमी लोग आते हैं, मेरे बेटी बहू को जबरदस्ती पकड़ कर ले आते हैं, कोठी पे कहते हैं चलो, कोठी पे कहते हैं चलो। बताइए, उनकी इज्जत से खिलवाड़ करते हैं, मैं क्या करूं? मैं बताइए कहाँ जाऊं, किसके पास जाऊं? हमारा गांव इनके पट्टे में है, मजबूरन हमको इनकी फैक्ट्री में काम करना पड़ता है। अंधेर तो यह है कि जिनके खेतों में नहर का पानी पहुंचता ही नहीं है और जिन्हें नहर का पानी दिया ही नहीं गया उनसे भी ये टैक्स वसूला जाता है।
बड़े जोतदार अपने दोस्त यूरोपियन के साथ शिकार खेलने आते हैं, जो कभी कभी हाथी खरीदने के लिए जोतदार लोग हम ही लोगों से टैक्स वसूलते हैं। नाव, घोड़ा या मोटर खरीदने के लिए ये समूचा साहब लोग हम ही लोग से पैसा वसूलते हैं। नीला साहब लोग की कोठी के मरम्मत के लिए भी हम ही लोग से पैसा वसूल करके वो मरम्मती कराई जाती है।
जो पर काम कर ले तो फैक्ट्री वाला ताज बस्ती पकड़वा के अपन थोड़ा बेकार नहीं करेगा वाला लोग।
Gandhiji informed the district magistrate that he would be visiting a village 25 kilometers away from Motihari, summons was served on Gandhiji asking him to appear in the court of the sub-divisional magistrate the next day. The news that Gandhiji was willing to go to jail for the sake of the oppressed peasantry of Bihar reached the remotest of Champaran villages. Next day, 18th of April, over 2,000 farmers converged on Motihari.
Gandhi Maharaj ki jai! 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 Gandhi Maharaj.
The government leader requested for postponement of the case, but Gandhiji wanted to plead guilty for having disobeyed the orders to leave Champaran. He read a brief statement which said, "I have disregarded the orders served upon me, not for want of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being, the voice of conscience." Meanwhile, the Lieutenant Governor had sent orders that the case against Gandhiji be withdrawn. The collector wrote to him saying that he was at liberty to conduct the proposed inquiry and that official help, if required, would be available. Thus, this was the first success of non-violent civil disobedience movement in the country. On arrival in Betia on April 22nd, Gandhiji received an enthusiastic welcome. Gandhiji and Braj Kishore Prasad recorded statements of nearly 4,000 farmers.
जब हमारे किसी बच्चे का विवाह होता है तब कंपनी वाले टैक्स वसूलते हैं, पर अब त्योहार में भी फैक्ट्री के लोग हमसे पैसा वसूलते हैं और अपनी जेब भरते हैं। जब भी किसी रैयत को मृत्यु होती है तो उसके लड़के या वारिस को एक प्रकार का मृत्यु टैक्स देना पड़ता है।
हमारे गांव में किसी भी विधवा की शादी होती है तो उस पर भी टैक्स लिया जाता है।
Local administration and planters pleaded with the authorities to stop Gandhiji. They alleged that he was teaching the tenants to demand higher wages, not to pay rent and taxes, and to boycott their factories. In the face of opposition, Gandhiji continued with his inquiry.
जब बरसाती होए लगी खूब, अब पाँच पानी सफर हो जाई, तब का ये गिरहत के चलाने तू लील कटी है, आ गड़ी वाला कहीं तू लदी है, अब मेघ के बाप न बरसई रहत, मुझे वही में लदवाई, आ कदो चक्का हल गेल, कदो बोल हट गेल, बस 10 बजे के बाद में गेल कोठी पर धांस लागी पहलवान की पिटाई करी, एक गिरहतों के जुर्माना करी, तू कहाँ न सब करी भेजला?
कभी कभी हमें कुएं का पानी भरने से रोक दिया जाता है।
इल्हे जोतदार मुझे बार बार तंग करते हैं कि तुम नील की ही खेती करो। ऐसी हालत में मैं क्या करूं बाबूजी?
When he found that the peasantry was suffering because of illiteracy and ignorance, he established schools in 6 villages with the help of Kasturba Gandhi and volunteers. The volunteer teachers also looked after the medical needs of the local people. Gandhiji's report was a severe indictment of the exploitation of peasantry by the planters. The report said, the tenants were made to work for the planters by force. On minor pretexts, influential local farmers were harassed and made example of. With the discovery of synthetic dyes, there was a drastic fall in the price of indigo. The planters passed on their losses to the farmers. If they did not have cash, they were given hand notes and mortgage deeds for payment in installments at 12%. The farmers were compelled to give their best lands for the landlord's crops. Farmers had to devote all their time and energy on looking after the planters' crops and had no time for earning their own livelihood. Bullock carts were forcibly taken away from the tenants for use by the factories of the planters. The ploughshares of the farmers were kept by the planters for use on the factory land, and the farmers could not use them. Plantation owners filed flimsy civil suits or criminal complaints against the cultivators to keep them under their control. Gandhiji's report compelled the government to appoint an inquiry commission to examine the charges. Gandhiji was requested to be a member. The inquiry committee corroborated the findings of Gandhiji. All the major recommendations were accepted by the government. Tin Katiya system was abolished through the Champaran Agrarian Bill introduced in the Legislative Council on 29th November 1917. Thus the planters' regime came to an end. A triumph for Gandhiji and a triumph for Satyagraha. It made the farmers politically conscious and gave them courage and self-confidence, an important step towards freedom.